Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar on container management. To start off the agenda today, I'll introduce who we are at Guru Solutions, and then we'll do an overview of container management and a demo of the solution. Afterwards, we'll do a quick recap and discuss how Gurus can help you, and at the end, we'll discuss any questions you have. To start us off, my name is Riley Van Ryswick, and I'm a cloud developer here at Gurus. I develop customized solutions to extend the native functionality of NetSuite to meet your key business needs. So who are we at Guru Solutions? We're a 5-star NetSuite partner and solution provider founded in 2005. We work with businesses to bring their corporate process to the cloud, resulting in unmatched productivity and efficiency. Our unique process and vast experience reduces risk and optimizes your business processes. We've completed over 2,100 projects and have more than 600 active clients. If you'd like to learn more about how the cloud can help your business, please reach out to us and we'll send you this book on how to scale up your business with cloud technology, written by our CEO, Martin McNichol. Let's examine the need for container management. Containers are probably the most cost-efficient way to ship goods in bulk, whether it's from your vendors to your warehouses or warehouse transfers. Without good container management, several frustrations can quickly emerge, especially as the volume of containers you handle grows. Keeping track of all your active containers and the goods inside them can be a time-consuming activity. It typically involves the manipulation of Excel files that only a few people have access to. As well, allocating freight and duties to maintain accurate item costs can be an onerous process. Without good visibility of goods in containers as well as containers themselves, it can be a very difficult task to forecast available to sell dates or plan for container deliveries, for example. So this is where container management comes into play. It gives you enhanced visibility, allowing you to easily track your goods that are in containers, as well as reporting on estimated versus actual metrics such as freight and duty costs and shipping times. As well, you can report on vendor and shipping company performance. Say you want to know if vendor A often sends you the wrong item, or if trucking company B is frequently late. The next great benefit is automation. You can seamlessly manage a container throughout its entire life cycle, from the time the vendor fills the container at their location to the time you receive it at your final destination and build the container. It will also automatically create all necessary transactions, which includes the application of landed costs. It's compatible with the demand planning module, which means that you can easily calculate available to sell dates and more. It will also automatically handle most item variances. Say, for instance, the vendor sent you the wrong item, or they only sent you 5 t-shirts instead of 10 t-shirts. That can be handled easily. The last benefit is flexibility. The solution can be customized in any way to meet your key business needs and processes. I'm going to introduce a few key terms before we start the demo. The first one is landed cost. It's the total cost of an item by the time it reaches your warehouse. This includes the purchase price, freight, duties, and any other applicable fees incurred. The next is item variance. This occurs when the physical item in a container doesn't exactly match what was expected. So either a difference in terms of quantity or the item is just different from what was expected. The last one is location. It's a physical or virtual place where the items are stored. For example, the on the water location contains items in transit. For our demo today, we'll first start off by creating a purchase order with some items. We'll then create a container and add the items from the purchase order to it. We'll also add items from a different purchase order to the container. Then we'll ship the container to indicate that it's in transit, and then receive it at the final destination. Finally, we'll build a container to see the application of landed costs. The demo version of container management that we'll be using today includes features of item variance as well as actual landed costs. Please keep in mind that the logic and what you see in front of you can be easily changed to meet your requirements. With that being said, let's get started. So welcome to the demo. For today's demo, we'll be using a GIL warehouse and distribution demo account, and I'll be using a variety of roles. The first role we'll start off in is a purchasing and inventory manager role. This is where we'll create the PO, create the container, add items to the container, and then receive the container on the water. Afterwards, we'll go into the warehouse operations role, where we'll receive the container at the final destination. After that, we'll go to the AP clerk role, where we'll create a vendor bill for any landed costs related to the container. This will be for duties and freight, and then apply them to the container. Then lastly, we'll look at the senior executive role, where we'll look at some metrics. So you can see on my homepage dashboard, I have the reminders portlet on the left, I've set it up so that it will remind me when I have overdue containers that need to be shipped. So this would occur when any container was estimated to have been shipped already but hasn't been. In the middle, I have key performance indicators. So towards the bottom, you can see I have purchase orders created today, the number of open purchase orders, as well as containers that need to be filled, containers that are already filled and ready to be shipped to on the water, and any unresolved container variances. In the vendor performance portlet, I have a variety of metrics about the vendor related to billing, POs, and on-time performance, as well as at the bottom, I've added one for item variance. So you can see the number of item variances that were generated today, this week, this month, last month, this physical quarter, and so on. And you can drill down into each item variance to review it further. Below that, I have a list of containers that are on the water, as well as there's some other portlets such as partly received POs and a few trend graphs showing the weekly inventory and the weekly inbound inventory arriving by container. So we'll first start off by ordering items. So I'll go to the items to order. And this page is going to allow me to view all items that have been automatically selected to be ordered because they're either getting low in terms of their reorder point or for other reasons. In this case, we'll be just looking at reorder point items. And I know that I have the specific vendor of Iron Horse bicycles. So I'm going to select him. And then I'm going to go to the reorder items. And you can see here that I have a variety of sports bikes that I need to reorder. So I'm going to select a few of them for the main location. And then I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And it's going to generate a purchase order for all of those bicycles that I ordered. So it's been completed. I'm going to go ahead and view that purchase order. And you can see here that I have 20 downhill Sunday World Cup bikes, 20 trail bikes, 5 mountain bikes, and 4 free ride bikes, as well as the purchase cost for them. And this purchase order has been approved. So I'm going to go back to my home page. And you can see here now that this is reloaded, I have now 6 purchase orders created today instead of 5 and 217 open instead of 216. So I'm going to go ahead and create a container to add those bicycles to them. So I'll go to containers, receiving, container management, and containers, and then new. And this will take me to a new container page. You can see at the top section, I have information about the container. So this includes the container number, which is a unique identifier, basically the serial number for the container. In this case, I'm going to select one previously and just modify the number for it. And then we have the container status, which will always start in empty. And then the container route. So this will determine where the container starts and ends, and will fill in most of the information in the dates and locations section. Then I have the container type. So this is to be the type of the container, as well as the max volume and maximum weight based on the container type. And then the total volume of items that I have in the container, as well as the total weight of them. Then I can enter the estimated ship date, as well as the estimated receive date at the final destination. The estimated receive date of the final destination will be automatically calculated from the estimated ship date based on the lead time. And then I have the date shipped on the water, and as well as the actual receive date of the final destination. In terms of other information in this section, we have the subsidiary the container is for, the shipping port, the on the water location, which in this case will always be the same in this instance because I only have one, but you could have more than one if you desire. Then there's a receiving port and the lead time in days, which is basically the amount of time it takes to ship from the shipping port to the receiving port and get it to your final warehouse. Then I have the estimated fee section. So this will give me brokerage and customs estimated fees, as well as ocean freight and domestic freight, the brokerage and customs for actuals, as well as the actuals for ocean freight and domestic freight. Lastly, I have a couple checkboxes down at the bottom. One that will be used to indicate that all variances have been calculated and handled, as well as another that indicates that landed costs are ready to be applied to the container because all the vendor bills have already been added. So I'm going to go ahead and select the sourcing Australia route, as well as a 40-foot container. So notice as soon as I select the container route and the container type, I get a maximum volume and maximum weight. The subsidiary has been selected to the parent company. The shipping port is Australia. We have the on-the-water location set. The receiving port is the main location, and the lead time is 35 days. I have an estimated ocean freight of $800 and an estimated domestic freight of $300. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. As soon as I click Save, you'll notice that I have this button to add items to the container, as well as here at the bottom I have a variety of lists, all of which are empty right now because there's nothing in the container. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Add Items to Container button. And this is going to load a page with all open purchase order lines. So I have the option to filter by the created date on the PO, and as well as the received by date on the PO, and then any vendor, manufacturer, or purchase order specifically. So in my case, I'm going to select the last purchase order we just created, and then I'm going to go ahead and click Search. And this will bring up the 4 bikes that I ordered on PO 12460. You notice that I also have a weight and volume field here. So this is going to be a counter that's going to indicate how the volume and the weight of the container are doing in terms of their respective limits. The limits can be overridden if necessary, just based on the information that the volume might not be correct and there might be certain packing efficiencies that can be achieved, but it will give you a warning if you exceed the volume and the weight limit. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 4 items. You can note that I have the date of the PO number, the item name, the item description, the vendor, as well as if there was a manufacturer, a lot number if it's a lot numbered item, the gross weight of the item, the volume of the item, the quantity that's been ordered, as well as the quantity that's remaining. So this quantity that's remaining, it will take into account the amount that's already been received for a purchase order, as well as the amount that's already on another container. So in this case, I'm going to enter the full amounts. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. So now if I scroll down to the bottom, you can see those 4 items have been added to the container. You can view the purchase order therefore, the item in the container. There's a lot number. The lot number would be displayed here. The total amount of the total value of those items, and then the quantity, the estimated customs fee percentage, as well as the estimated brokerage fee percentage. As we proceed through the process, these other fields will slowly be filled out. You can see that the container status has been updated to filling, as well as we now have the option to mark the container as filled. However, seeing as how I still have a lot of volume left, I'm going to add a few more items to the container. So now that we're back at the Add Items to the Container page, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to select some biker gloves. So these ones are for different sizes. And I'm going to enter 120 for the first one. If I try to enter excess quantity, say I want to try 140, it's going to tell me that the quantity was greater than the remaining amount, and it will reset it to 0. So I'll go back and select 120, I'll select 130, and now it's going to tell me that the volume is above the maximum value. I will be able to go ahead and submit, but I first need to uncheck the line that I can't fit in the container. And then you can see here, so we've exceeded the volume by quite a bit, and I may need to adjust it as we go through the process. So you can see here, those 3 additional items have been added to the container for the different sizes. At this point, I'm going to mark the container as filled because it's very full. And now I'll be presented with the item variance page. So this is the first one of 2. It would allow me at this point to review that all the items are correct compared to the container packing list. And if I say I realized, oh, I only had 60 of these items, I could just enter 60, and then I'll add the quantity for the rest of the items. In this case, we're going to say container was too full, remaining items to be shipped in another container. And this is for the B11 size. Also, if I had additional items, I could enter them through this sublist here and select a PO as well as lot number for them. So I'm satisfied with this quantity. I'm going to go ahead and click generate item variance. And this is going to go ahead and update the container item that I just adjusted, as well as generate a variance record. So you can see here, if we look down, here's the biker glove. The quantity was reduced to 60. As well as if I go under the item variance, I have an item variance record here that's going to indicate what the memo was, the purchase order. And if I go ahead and view that item variance, it's going to give me a bit more information about it, such as what item it was, the expected quantity, the actual quantity, what the variance, whether it's been resolved yet or not. And then that will also show up on my dashboard in a minute, and I'll get an email for it. So I'm just going to close this, and we'll go back to the home page. And you'll be able to see here that the quantity of unresolved container variances has increased to 12. If I open up those container variances, you'll be able to see here at the bottom that our sporting good bike glove is part of that one. And I can go ahead and investigate that further to see maybe I can resolve it right away just because the container was too full and it's coming again. But perhaps the vendor didn't send me everything, so I need to go follow up with the vendor. As well as you can see here, the number of containers to ship. This is where I would be able to view it if the container was to ship this week. So I'm going to go back to my container. I'm just going to open it up. And you'll note that I forgot to put an estimated ship date. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. And then we'll set it. We'll set it to today. I'll click save. We'll close the container and we'll go ahead and refresh this key performance indicator portlet. And you'll see that the number of containers to ship has gone up to 3 this week. So I'll go ahead and click on the 3. And there's my container here at the top that I need to ship. So I'm going to click view. We'll go ahead and receive the items on the water by clicking receive items on the water button. This process will create all necessary inventory transactions in the background to receive the items on the PO and then move them to the on the water location, as well as creating the transfer order to indicate that they're going to be moved to the final destination location as of the estimated receive date. So now we have this success that the item receipts were created and the items are now on the water. So now that our items have been received on the water, you can notice that the container status is now in transit. If I scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on inventory transactions, you'll be able to see we have 2 item receipts for both purchase orders that we created. This is going to receive the items to the on the water location. Then we have a transfer order to basically indicate that we're going to transfer those items from the on the water location to the final destination, as well as we're going to automatically fulfill that transfer order right away. So if I go back to my home page, you can notice that the number of containers to ship this week has decreased from 3 to 2. In this particular case, the landed costs are set up to be applied at the final destination location, but they can also be set up to be applied at this point when the items are shipped on the water. So what I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is switch roles. So we're going to go over to the warehouse operations role to receive the items at the final destination. So you can see, similar to before, I have the reminders portlet like I did before, and again, I have a reminder set up to let me know when I have containers that are overdue for arrival. In this case, I don't have any. But you can see also I have this container list here. This is going to tell me when all the containers are arriving. I can select a date filter. In our case, we want next month, since our container that we just shipped is not scheduled to arrive until March 26th. If I want, I could also change it to, say, for this week. and it's going to give me the containers that are arriving this week. In this case, we only have one that was expected to arrive today. But I am going to go back to next month so we can select our container and receive it. So here's our container, and I'll go ahead and click View, and it's going to load the container. And now we have the Receive at Final Destination button at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And this is going to open up the second of the item variance pages. At this stage, it's currently not configured to update any past transactions, and it will only generate an item variance record, as well as send the email summary, and leave the variance to be dealt with manually. It is possible, though, to have it automatically update previous transactions, provided there's not in a closed period. So for this case, I'm just going to simply add all quantity, and it will generate the item variance, in which case there is none. And this is going to receive the items to the final destination with an item receipt. So now that we're back at the container page, you can see that the container status has been updated to arrived at destination. And if I go under the Inventory Transactions tab, you can see that an additional item receipt was created for the transfer order. And if we go and view that item receipt, it's going to have the landed cost applied here. So if I click on it, you can see we have a duty and freight category. So the customs and brokerage fee are applied under duty, and the ocean and domestic freight are under the freight category. This is based on the estimated values at this point and has been allocated by weight for the freight, and then based on the item amounts and the percentages on the item record for the duties. So I'll go back to the container. And at this point, the job of the warehouse receiver is done. He can go and put stuff away. And we'll move on to the next phase of the operations, which is going to be for the AP clerk. So you can see here, I have some information about purchase orders to bill with variances. So that's going to indicate any purchase orders that are still pending billing that have variance attached with it, perhaps in the case when I over-received and had already billed. And I also have some information on inventory value on the water. In this case, what we're going to do now is enter a bill. Now that the new bill screen has loaded, you can see we have information related to the bill, such as reference number, the vendor, the date, posting period, the location it's for, etc. And then at the bottom, we have expenses and items. In this case, we have items set up as other charges for the freight and duty related categories. So I'm going to enter my container and the reference number and say it's for landed costs. In this case, we're going to put FedEx as one of the vendors, and I'm going to put the two freight related costs associated with them. So we have domestic freight, in this case, which is going to be $300. And I'm going to select my container, which was this guy here. And then I'll select the ocean freight. And we'll also assign it to the container. Click OK and click Save. I need to enter a location. We'll assign it to the main location. So now my vendor bill has been generated. I'm going to go ahead and create another vendor bill for the duties. So now that our new vendor bill has loaded, we're going to go ahead and enter a reference number similar to the last one, except for us to add duties to the end of it. I'm going to select the all steel vendor because they are a freight forwarder. I'll select the main location again. And I'm going to go ahead and enter some items here. So we're going to enter the brokerage fee first. And it's going to be a rate of $200. We'll select our container again. And then we're also going to enter the customs fees. And it's going to be $550. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And there's our bill. So I'll close out of here and go back to our home page. If I refresh my reminders portlet, you'll see we have 2 containers pending billing. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And you can see here that my container is there. So now that we're back at the container, if I scroll down to the vendor bills subtab, you'll notice that we have all the landed cost items that we just entered on the 2 vendor bills, as well as you can see the amounts over here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and edit the container because we know that all landed costs are final now. And you can see that the total actuals have just been calculated. If you were to have multiple bills for the same customs or brokerage, or even say ocean freight, it will just sum them together under that category. So what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and check the landed cost ready checkbox, and then I'm going to go ahead and save the container. Now that the container is reloaded, we'll have a button up at the top to update landed costs. What this is going to do is go and update the landed costs for the container items so that we can report on them later to make sure that we have accurate values. So I'll go ahead and click update landed costs. And it's going to indicate to me that it was successful. And now that the container has been saved, you can see that the status has been updated to landed costs applied. And what this indicates is that the container is finished throughout its process and is done. And if we scroll down here, you can see that the actual values have been filled in for the container items so that we can report on them. And that finishes the job for the AP accountant. And you can see if I refresh up here in the reminders portlet, the containers pending billing has decreased down to 1. The AP clerk can also be involved with the variance process, just depending on whether a purchase order will have to be billed or credited based on the number of items that are over or under received. At this point in time, I'm going to step into we're going to step back into the purchasing inventory manager role briefly just to look at the variance process a little bit more. So you can see here that I have 12 container variances that are unresolved. So I'm going to go ahead and view this. And you can see that this one, the container was too full, returning remaining items in another shipment. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this one. I'm going to say that it's all fine because I know it's going to come in another shipment. And now we're back at the search, and you can see that that variance has been removed from this list. We could continue to go through the list to make sure that we check on each specific condition and make sure that we handle it appropriately, but we'll move on for now. So I'm going to go back to I'm going to go to the senior executive role. And here his main dashboard has a lot of information about other parts of the business, but I'm going to specifically go onto the expense overview. The key performance indicator panel here in the middle has most of the indicators that I've set up for today's demo. So we have the total value of inventory. So it's set up to be comparison between today and same day last month. You can always change these as necessary, as well as you can view it on the trend graph to see what it looks like graphically. We have our inventory value on the water. So this is going to give us a good idea of our exposure to inventory that's in our ownership but not under our control because it's not in our warehouse. Then we have the cost of goods sold. It's also a comparison between this period and last period. You can see how it changes over time. And then we have our container brokerage fee variance. This one I've set up specifically. You could also add the customs fee, the ocean freight, the domestic freight, or any other landed cost category that you want to track. So you can see in this particular case that we're overestimating because the actual value is less than what the estimated value was. We have the freight and duty costs. So this is the total value we've spent on freight and duty this month, which in this case is $6,000. We have the freight and duty portion of the landed cost, so the percent of the actuals, as well as the percent of the estimates. So you can see the percent of the estimates is higher, so we're getting kind of confirming that we're overestimating the landed cost at this particular point in time. And if I wanted to, I could drill down further into this by clicking on this month, and it's going to pull up a search. You can see here that the Americana jacket one is really quite off and should be investigated further. whereas some of them aren't quite as bad. They're only around 8% variance. So let's close out of here for now, and we'll go back to our main dashboard. And you can see also we have the vendor performance portlet here with the number of item variances as well as other vendor information. It's definitely possible to add a lot more reporting metrics than what I've set up for today, such as if you wanted to track the performance of your freight forwarders and shipping routes and average on-time performance in that regard. That's something that could definitely be done. It really all comes down to, as long as the data is in the system, we can report on it. So that wraps up the demo portion, and I'll head back to the slides. Following the demo, I would like to expand upon current features and potential enhancements. So far, we've developed automated landed costs, both estimated and actuals. There's the item variance feature, which will handle cases when you don't receive the right item or you receive it in the wrong quantity. Transload, which is for when you need to ship items between warehouses. Automated shipping time estimation when you have shipping routes. Support for multiple units of measures, so that would be when you buy items in, say, cases of 24, but stock them in cases of 12 and sell them in cases of 6. As well as we support all item types in NetSuite. For potential enhancements, we could do an integration with different shipping companies and freight forwarders that would enable automatic container updates. We could also do an integration with a warehouse management system to improve the receiving process. If you have other ideas, we'd love to hear about them. For a brief recap, we've seen that container management offers excellent visibility of goods, accurate item costing with minimal effort. It allows you to report on key metrics to optimize your procurement process, a low effort to manage good shipments from purchase to receipt via seamless user interface, as well as reporting tools to plan and manage container deliveries. So how can Gurus help you? We offer a true partnership approach with our clients. We strive to understand your business needs and processes. With our 11 years of proven process, we've developed flexible modes of engagement to match your skill set and availability. Our collaborative workshop methodology ensures that our clients are engaged throughout the implementation process. After your implementation is complete, we continue to support you with our ongoing account management. Whether it be general support or further optimization, we'll be there to help. And that wraps up the presentation for today's webinar on container management. For further information about Guru Solutions, please visit the links below. Thank you again for attending and listening. I'll now open up the floor for questions.